we're thrilled to welcome Maria Costa, who is co-founder of sustainable accessories brand From Belo. And Maria is joining us from Brazil, very colourful Brazil, and also confirming the beauty, I guess, of the fact that we've done a digital festival. So it means we can bring people from around the world that are connected to, you know, reuse as a lifestyle, really. So we usually get the pleasure of seeing Charlotte, your co-founder, who's based here in the UK. So it's a personal pleasure of seeing the story of From Belo coming up, you know, events and things. So it's great to be able to hear your side of the story, and I guess really from the heart of the brand, where you know where a lot of your creation is done, really. So we're going to delve into a bit of the weighty words that are sustainable and fashion, but I thought maybe we could start at the beginning.
Actually, we can start when I was a child, because I think it all connects. So I used to live in the middle of the Amazon, and I lived there in a village until I was 10 years old. So nature is a big part of me, you know, and also seeing what humans do to nature is a big part of who I am, because throughout the years when I was growing up, like I saw the devastation, you know, in contrast with the beauty that it is, like the forest. So it was something for me that my dream was always to do something that could help and could educate people, you know, and understanding the importance of the environment, the importance of animals, you know, the importance of keeping our forests alive. But I never understood what to do, you know, and I always felt really helpless. So fast forwarding a couple of years or decades, Charlotte and I met when I was in sixth form. So I went to the UK for an exchange program, and we became best friends.
Amazing.
We've been in contact, but even yeah, because you know we live in different continents, and it was hard for us to always see each other, but we always kept in contact. And when she came to South America to do volunteer work, I was working in finance, but I also had a little side business on that was t-shirts. So I made t-shirts out of organic cotton, and for every t-shirt that I sold, I used to donate to women's orphanage, so a girls' orphanage, because in Brazil, the orphanages, I don't know if that's the right word, but they are very forgotten. You know, there isn't a nice structure to help those kids. And especially teenage girls, I feel like when we are teenagers, we need to feel pretty, you know, we like experimenting with things, and they don't have money for that. They don't have support, you know, to be teenagers, really. So I thought that it would be a nice gesture to make this t-shirts and take like racks of clothing there for them to choose from, and pretend to be like a little boutique for them, you know, because they don't have that. And when I was talking to Charlotte about it, because she came to do this volunteer work in South America, she was like, "Oh my God, I love this!" And um, she was saying that she had this idea of making a handbag, and she wanted to do in South America because she saw firsthand what poverty really was. You know, because I think poverty means different things in first world countries than in a third world country.
Many different
And
scales.
sorry.
I was saying many different scales, and
Yes, it's
we
like,
understand what we see locally, maybe more. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, you know, like when she was so shocked when she was seeing kids in the streets begging for money, you know, like we were out late, and it was like 2 in the morning, and you would see little kids like 5 year old, 6 years old, begging for money. And she was like, I would love to do something here. And we teamed up. We're like, let's do something. Why not? Over cocktails, we're like, let's make a difference. And
Where the best businesses are started,
yeah,
right?
I agree with you. I agree with you. And when we were in a time in Brazil that we, because Brazil has a lot of artisans and a lot of like fashion factories as well. But because we have a very rigid working law, it doesn't allow for modern slavery, as you see in other third world countries. So a lot of factories were closing down in Brazil because they couldn't compete with other countries, third world countries. And
So the race to
lots,
the bottom.
yes. And it was really hard. And I've been, one thing that is really close to my heart as, because since I went to the UK and I saw how people actually live, because when you come from a third world country, you don't really, you get used to pain and you get used to poverty. So even though it's really sad, but it numbs you. And when I went to the UK and I was like, that's how people should live. You know, like we have, like, I'm very privileged and I never realized that. So when I came back, I was always doing volunteer work in this community. And when Charlotte and I decided to start our business, I knew that was a lot of artisans in Islam here in my hometown. They didn't have any more work, and we thought, why don't we get these incredible people? They're so talented, you know, like the craftsmanship in Brazil is beautiful. Why don't we get them and make our bags? And that's what we did. So we got a cooperative together of artisans, and they're incredible. And they help us turn our dream into reality. And first we were like, let's make out of new materials. Let's make out of leather. Let's see fabric. And when we started to research, we noticed that the effects on the environment, they were horrible. And that took me back to a place when I was a child, you know, and I was like, I cannot contribute to this with my company, you know, and I have an opportunity now to be the voice of something. And for me and for Charlotte, it was so important for us to be the voice of kindness, because we think that modern capitalism or the modern whatever, you know, financial structure we have in the world, it should be centered around kindness and around balance. So we need to make sure that everything that we do, we understand the effects that we have on people and the environment. And a big problem here, apart from that, is waste, because in Brazil, the cities are not so structured like you would have, you know, in first world countries. So if you go to the poorest areas in a city, the sewage system is not there yet. The way that they collect rubbish is not there yet. So the waste plays a big part in a lot of diseases here, and also in floods. So we have really severe rain, but because of our not so good waste logistics, that contributes with like horrible floods that kill people, that devastate houses, and usually those poor communities that suffer from it. So we thought that the way for us to close the loop was to be ethical, but also think about ways to take that waste from the community and turn into something. And that's what we do. It's not easy, but that's how for us circular economy is. So circular economy for us doesn't start or end with only the materials, but on the effect that we have in the community. So with also, oh, I forgot to say, like we also do, to close that loop, for every purchase that we make, we partner up with key charities in the community of our artisans, that solve the problems you know, that the problems that are stopping them to thrive. So because we're so small, the first problem and the biggest one is hunger. We are helping with employment, but we can't employ everyone in the community right now, which is small.
Yeah.
But we thought that a good way was to contribute by donating meals. So we donate food via this partner charity called Casa de Maria, and they are like the base of the community. The owner comes from the community. They are incredible. I've known them my entire life since I've been volunteering there. And that's what they do. So they feed over 700 people a day. And yeah, it's a beautiful work that they do. And that's how we can right now um, support the community as well as with employment.
I guess that's the benefit also for you of really knowing the community and knowing, you know, it's not like one of those things where you're, you know, you look to support a cause with your, you know, your products to make it, you know, to make it more sustainable for good reasons. But you had that connection. You knew, you know, somewhere that you could directly take, you know, percentage of your profits, and you knew the good that it would do. So that's
Yes.
wonderful.
I think as well what I see, and I speak only for myself, but here when you are, for us, the, you know, when you're talking about sustainable, you know, reclaiming the world sustainable, for us sustainable means making communities, impoverished communities, sustainable. And the sustainability comes from work, comes from strengthening the community, you know, giving structure so they can thrive. As long as the environmental side, but the social side as well. And it was really hard for us to break down the barriers, because when you're working with impoverished communities, they suffer a lot, and they are very close to outsiders, you know. So we've been working, like the relationship that we've been building with this community, I've been doing over the years with volunteer work, but with employment and trying to structure the community, it has taken us years and years, you know, to get there, because it's not always so easy to gain trust. And I think the only way for us to really understand what the issues are of a community, because I can't go to a community and say, you guys are hungry, so let me give you food. It doesn't work like that. So we need to understand what are the real issues. And for that, we need to build a relationship and build trust. And that's why we decided to donate food and work with the charities as well.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing way, like you say, to spread, you know, beyond the size of your company, even though it's growing, to be able to stretch that and build that sustainable like infrastructure, I guess, really. But I think the trust thing is a big issue, and I was curious as to, obviously you were saying, you know, a lot of the factories were moving elsewhere, you know, to other countries that they could exploit people more easily. And I'm curious as to what the treatment was like, or, you know, were there obvious issues that you really kind of had to break down that barrier towards, you know, building trust and saying, yeah, we're fashion, but we're doing something very different maybe to what you've been used to.
So for us to break down the barriers with the artisans?
Yeah, in terms of what they expected from, you know, an employer, for example.
Yes, I think that because they are not used to being heard, you know, and I think that was the biggest issue for us, was because we wanted to hear from them. We wanted to actually build a rapport and build a relationship. In the beginning, they were like, just tell us what you want, you know, just tell what you want and we'll do it. And it's not that. No, we don't want that. We want your input. We want to know what we can do, how we can improve. So part of breaking down the barriers is understanding how you can communicate, you know, and how you can show that that person is valuable, because they never felt valuable. And one of the things that we're going to do, I don't know if I can say this, Charlotte, don't kill me if you're watching this. So we really want to do a photo shoot with our artisans, you know, because they are so proud of what they do, and they love the fact that it goes to, when you come from a third world country, if it goes abroad to a first world country, you get really proud. So they're really proud of the work they do. So we want to do a photo shoot with them, because we don't want to separate people that wear from the people that buy it, if that makes sense. Oh, sorry, from the people that produce it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it ties into a lot of the raising awareness. You know, unfortunately due to the shocking horrors that were exposed in the fashion industry, but the raising awareness through Fashion Revolutions campaign, and the way that they really do encourage, you need to see what's behind, that shirt, whatever it is that you've bought. So that's really powerful, but it's also nice to kind of give more animation to that and really show more of the story. And yeah, a full shoot, why not? Because
yeah. And I think that when we were saying about the building relationship is treating them as equals, because what I've noticed, sometimes they're like, really? Like, you really want to know my story? Like, you really want me to be like in your tag? Like, are you sure? Like, they don't feel valued at all, and that's such a big issue, because they couldn't even be honest with us because they were scared. They didn't want to lose their jobs. And we didn't want that. We want you to tell your story. We want you to be part of our journey. And I have to remind them over and over again. I'm always like, do you know that without you, we wouldn't have our company? Do you understand that whatever you guys are doing now, you're contributing to to us? Like, you're helping us build our dreams. Like, we're not helping you guys. Yeah, you're helping us. Because I don't know how to make a bag as well as you guys do. So I always want to show them how valued they are. And I think that's how we build the trust, and I always ask them, I'm like, do you think that works with this bag? And they were not used to that, and as the sooner they were able to be honest, that's how we were able to create a relationship and understand what the problems are in the community.
That's amazing on so many levels, but also just from a point of view of building successful design, like having your design team on the other side of the world and then your production somewhere else. It's just a complete disconnect in terms of probably increased waste, but also just a lack of, actually, like they're handling the materials. They can say, well, you can have it like that if you want, but actually this would make much more sense. And that just, yeah, it makes so much sense. It's like, why are we separating every piece of the puzzle so much?
I think that was our biggest challenge because Charlotte is in the UK and we both design together, but she's the one that puts, the pieces of the puzzle together in terms of design. So it was a big challenge for us. And I can't even tell how we did it, but we do it like in a way that everything is so connected, because Charlotte usually comes here in the prototyping season. We can't right now because of COVID, but usually she's here as well. And everyone loves her. Everyone knows her. Like, when she's here, we're 100% with our artisans all the time. And that helps too. But I think that I don't even know how we have such a good synergy, that is able to work so well. But I think that it's just honesty, and communication with them, and between Charlotte and I and them. I think that's how we do it.
And I guess for you, in some senses, you were so used to connecting, over video or, in between when Charlotte couldn't be there. How has the last kind of year been different? Has it felt quite similar in terms of, certainly in terms of work, communications, or has it been, what have the challenges been that have been unique for you?
So it has, everyone was like, oh my God, now we have to do everything via Zoom, and I'm like, that's how Charlotte and I, we have done it for the past 3 years. So in that sense, it hasn't changed. The only thing that has is the fact that we are not physically together like we used to. We used to see each other 3 times a year, and I haven't seen her in a year. That is a little bit challenging. Now that we're designing products, is a little bit challenging. But I think that technology helps, doesn't it? Like, technology brings everyone closer. So we can talk over the phone. We can talk with our artisans, swap references. It's not that complicated, but I can see the struggle for some people. But for us, that's how we build our business and made it work so far.
On the material side, what was that like in terms of, sourcing what you wanted to upcycle? I'm really interested in the car connection.
it's a soap opera. It's like we say, but it's a Brazilian telenovela, you know, because it's crazy. So we that's another barrier that we had to break as well, because all of our artisans were used with leather. And when we came with lots of ways, we're like, we're making bag out of this, and they're like, no, we're not. No, I don't want to work with that. No, it's ugly. So we had to change the perception of beauty, not only of our consumers, our target audience, but we also have to change for our artisans, you know, because in the beginning they're like, nope, it's not gonna work, you're not gonna sell anything. Who wants uh you know, who wants a bag made out of trash? No one wants that. You're crazy. So that was actually another barrier that we had to to break down with them, definitely. So when we started, we're like, okay, what is the easiest material that we can work with? Um, that is upside, because for us, the most sustainable material in the world is the one that already exists, because we don't want to make anything. Um, so we're like, okay, we can work with leather, because here has a lot of fashion factories, like I said, and there is a lot of bag brands that make stuff locally here. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna knock on that door and ask for the leftovers, and we can see what we can do. But we still didn't think that we're quite there yet with using leftover leather. And then we came around a law in Brazil that I didn't know about. I don't know if you guys have that law there. Is that you have to change your seatbelts every 10 years by law. And I was like, that's interesting. And Charlotte and I were like, okay, maybe we can use seatbelts because they are resistant. Like they save our lives, so they must be resistant. They are made out of nylon, so they're tough and durable, you know. And why not? So I started to go to junkyards, and I was like, can I have a look of what you got, you know, and see, can I buy some? And in the beginning, it was really hard because when they see like a young woman going to a junkyard, they didn't really have time for me as much. But now they love me. But in the beginning, they're like, no, I'm not gonna. Why do you want it?
You know, they know you're coming. They're like, right, see that.
Honestly, they're like, why do you want this? And in Brazil, everyone is so like, everyone is always so scared of getting I don't know what the word is, cheated. I'm not sure if that's a word. But you know, they never know what is your intentions, you know, why do you want this? You know, everyone always doubts. So even though I was like, I want your trash, you're not even using it. Like I can't, you know, I'll pay for it if you
What
don't
are
want
they doing? Were they just waiting to go to land, or what? They were being
it goes
obviously
to landfill.
just go straight to landfill.
It goes straight to landfill. I was like, why don't you want to give it to me? But they, you know, it's always like that.
Yeah.
That they don't trust easily. You know, that's the barriers that we have to break. So yeah, it goes to landfill. So I was like, okay, I can trade the seat belts for English lessons for your kids. Um, and they were like, okay, it sounds like a good deal, because also I think it's a way people, you know, that work in this type of area in Brazil, they also come from the community. And we thought that it could be a good way as well to help their families, you know, because English in Brazil, if you have a second language, you can go further in your career. And you know, it's something that I would love to. It's something that I love doing, is teaching them English. So twice a week I teach them, now over Zoom, and we trade for seatbelts. So that's how we get that's how we get the seatbelts. And then from seatbelts was our first material that we decided to upcycle. We also work with recycled fabric made out of plastic bottles, and it's also locally as well. But seatbelt was our main, you know, the main structure of our bags, and the recycled fabric is our lining. And then we're like, what else? Okay, what else can we upcycle? So we decided to see what has a lot of like waste here, because we want to be successful and we want to grow, and for that we need to make sure that the materials that we get are in abundance, you know. So we decided to look for fabric offcuts because I remember when I used to work with clothing, like 15 to 20% of the fabric goes away, in offcuts when you're in the cutting room. So we thought that could be a good idea. And and then we started to evolve. Now we work with inner tubes as well. So I have a partnership to work with inner tubes, um, or with mechanics that work with,
Is it
yeah, with the tires.
Mm.
Um, so we get like all different types of bike, motorbike, cars, and what else? Oh, an umbrella fabric as well. So we got in Brazil we have rubbish collectors. So there are people in the streets. So to make a little bit of money, they collect the rubbish they see on the streets, and they trade they trade for something in companies, because some companies they recycle aluminium or paper. So I've made a partnership with them so they can recycle, so we can upcycle the umbrellas, because the umbrella fabric is really resistant. And I was like, I wonder. So we made a partnership with them, and they were collecting lots of old umbrellas they could find everywhere in the rainy season. And some of our products, the lining is from the umbrella fabric that we collect as well. And all of that is washed, cleaned by me.
English lessons one evening, washing umbrellas.
Yes, it's crazy, honestly. It's we are going to expand now as we're growing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to employ some people to help me with the sorting of the materials and cleaning of everything. But I just wanted to develop a way that was eco-friendly. So we only use um, I don't know, products that doesn't have harsh chemicals. In Brazil, we have something that is coconut soap. I don't know if you guys have there.
Yeah, well,
Um,
we have different coconut kind of products. Yeah.
yeah, so coconut soap is a tradition in Brazil, like my grandmother. So back in the day, they didn't have detergents. So they used to make a soap out of coconut. And honestly, it can, like grandmother's recipe. I don't know if you guys have things like that, that clean, like some things that I don't know how to explain, but it works.
Yeah.
So that's coconut soap. We can take everything out, like all the dirt. It looks sparkly clean, and it's good for the environment. We are not affecting in any way. And yeah, that's how we clean it. And then the challenging part is designing with those materials, because they come with certain shapes, or they are very heavy as well. Like seatbelts are heavy, inner tubes are heavy. So we spend a lot of time just doing the research and the trying, testing it out, process to see what works for uh bag wise.
It's amazing what you're saying about seatbelts, because actually, I've lifted the bags that are, completely made of seatbelts, and they're still, light. Like sometimes you'll lift a handbag up, like, when you're shopping for a handbag, you don't want it to be too heavy to start with, but actually the weight is amazing. What you were saying, even though it's kind of a weighty material. So you've done a great job there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It means a lot. Honestly, it means a lot.
Yeah.
It is hard, like there is certain shapes that work, certain shapes it doesn't. And I think that's the challenging when you're upcycling materials. It's understanding how far you can go with them,
Yeah, yeah,
you
absolutely.
know?
So the other technique that you celebrate is kintsugi, if I'm not wrong. The kintsugi, the Japanese art of repair and kind of not just showing
Oh,
the repairs, but actually celebrating the imperfections. And that also goes towards, I believe, the collection that you kind of highlight this,
oh.
supporting one of the charities that you work with as well.
Oh, that's so. I'm so glad you know about this, because this is such incredible cause. We're so happy. So when I was telling you about like working with the community and understanding what they need, one of the things that we notice by talking to our artisans and the volunteers of Casa de Maria is um, there is a culture in Brazil in general, that we have, we're very chauvinistic. We are, unfortunately, we are very conservative in that sense. And with that comes a lot of domestic violence. And when working with our artisans and, talking with the community, we realize that it's something that we should be doing to help, to help victims of domestic violence. And we met an incredible person that introduced us to this charity called No Era Amor. And they help people victim of domestic violence through giving workshops and also therapy sessions, so they can they can find power in themselves to live a better life independent from the person, that is causing them harm. And they work, so that project, they wanted to train psychologists to work in the community of our artisans. And we thought that's perfect, that's exactly what we need. So we decided to partner up with them, and we made our little pouches with the heart and the mending in the middle, because that symbolizes that even like we all go through some tough times in our lives, and it makes us stronger and it makes us more beautiful. So we need to celebrate the good things in our lives and the bad things in our lives, to help us grow. And yeah, so part of our profits goes towards the training. That last year we trained 9 psychologists to work in the area with workshops, and we can't wait to expand the project. Um, and yeah, so they are made out of recycled fabric as well, so out of plastic bottles and scraps of fabric.
Beautiful. Yeah, and so kind of well connected to the theme. I think one of the reasons that us as humans connect so much to, reclaim pieces is, I said, like, they've got the dings, they've got the signs of past lives, and we shouldn't hide that. We should enjoy it and celebrate it, because at the end of the day, it brings us to where we are now.
Definitely. And that's one of the beauties of upcycling, I think. One of the things that it was so hard for us in the beginning was seeing, will people find beauty in imperfection? Because it doesn't matter like how many times I wash the seatbelts or how many times I wash the inner tubes, there is always going to be a mark because they were used, and we believe that it tells a story of the piece that you're wearing. Is it shiny and perfect? No. But neither are us, and that's the beauty of the upcycling, process. I love it. And when we say, I think part of the our challenge of reframing the perception of beauty is that it's beauty related to perfection, or shall we be celebrating all the imperfections? It still needs to be good quality. It still needs to be beautiful, like, aesthetically, but it doesn't need to be perfect,
I'm interested in, obviously, particularly people from around the world really appreciate the artisan techniques that you're celebrating from Brazil. But what's the sustainable fashion scene like in South America? Where are people at in the journey? Are people excited by it, or is it a harder sell over there, for example, utilizing existing materials?
So when we started From Belo, we've made a decision that we would focus on Europe because the market was ready.
Yeah.
You guys you are miles and miles and miles and miles and miles further than us. For Brazilians, I think that we have so many problems, and survival problems. That sustainability, unfortunately, is not something that people care about.
Yeah.
Once they see Europeans and people from the first world um, countries caring about something, usually we care too, but in a lighter scale. I think that right now, unfortunately, I find it a privilege of first world countries to be able to care about that. With
Yeah.
us, especially with COVID, I think that people are more worried about surviving. I always say that to my fiance is English, and I always say that he was always like, "You're so anxious. You're such an anxious person." I was like, "It's the hustler in me." In Brazil, you have to always fight to survive, and I think that goes to fashion as well. It's not something that people care about. I think it's changing a lot. I can see we have now Brazilian Eco Fashion Week, and it is incredible. And people are celebrating upcycling, but I see that is a movement of more because Europeans see that as something important than something that is authentic to us. It's changing. I think that as a third world country, culturally, we have the imposter syndrome, like inferior syndrome, that we always have to look up to Europeans and we have to mimic what they do. So I don't know how authentic it is, but it is changing. I see a little bit, but it's nothing like you guys.
You touch on some interesting issues, which I always find difficult, even in our own market, in the sense of the debate of, well, yeah, can I afford to be sustainable in the fashion choices that I make? But you're right, it takes it even further to the beginning, when you're just thinking about survival for yourself, let alone thinking about how we get to choose our disposable income, and whether we choose something based on its eco or ethical credentials or not. But yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, even teaching people in other areas of the world, like, why you should pay X amount for one of your handbags, for example, versus something else. Like, do you find that kind of people question you in terms of the bags that you're offering and the collections that you're offering, and is it important in terms of the price range to ensure that you're offering I guess a varied price point, so that people can feel like they can access your brand?
Yes. First, one of our challenges, I think, is creating value. Even in Europe, even in first world countries, even in America, Canada, Australia, doesn't matter. We still need to make sure that we are adding value, because we are not a luxury brand. We aim to be an affordable luxury brand. But when people think of luxury, like, for example, if you know that you made it in Brazil, if you're able to buy a Chanel bag, not if you're able to buy a bag made out of waste, because there is still I think there's still a little bit of prejudice associated with the materials, because when you think of leather, you think of like the process, even though our process is very hard and complicated and goes a lot of work, but there is a romantic view of a new material versus a upcycled material. And sometimes it's hard for our customer. I think something that we had to educate is that upcycling is not that we are taking waste that doesn't cost nothing and making to a product that is expensive. The supply chain is expensive, because we pay well every single person in our supply chain. From the rubbish collector, we want to make sure that whatever we're paying him will be more than enough for him to have a good life. For our artisans, for our suppliers, every single person, and that added value, that showing that, I think it's hard for us, because changing that perception is hard. So what we feel like that people sometimes question the price of our stuff, knowing that comes from waste. But what we try to do is, even with the small, making sure that we have small accessories for people that cannot afford the big bags, have a piece of us. It is important, like you said, having a mix of products that it's possible for people that doesn't have like the disposable income, or doesn't want to purchase, doesn't need to, but can still be have a little part of us as well.
Yeah.
And that's why we decided to make the little products.
And because of those other accessories, it brings like men into the market as well. There's a broad kind of range of you know, really to suit anyone. Not discounting the handbags for men at all either, but there's a broad range that really could suit everyone.
Yes, the men love it. Oh my God, they are the best clients because they buy for their girlfriends, their wives, you know, like their partners.
Yeah.
And because it comes from cars, you know, so they love it. They're like, oh, the car seat cover, like we were able to source one. Like my my mechanic, he called me one day and he was like, Maria, I just got a seatbelt from a Porsche. Do you want it? And I was like, yes. Men were loving it. They're like, oh, is this from a Porsche? I was like, yes, it is from a Porsche. So they were buying from their partners, you know, but I think it was for them because they love it so much.
It kind of touches on, I feel like, you know, forget like waste versus, you know, luxury brand. It's like the handbag for women is just, it's so, you know, it's so important. And I think that touches on kind of interesting things with men and what, you know, what they potentially relate to. But like, for example, my husband, I bought him your wash bags, which are made from the seat belts and from this car seat fabric as well, upcycled car seat fabric. I bought one for myself, which I wear as you know, as a handbag, like, and he loved it. He absolutely loved
it. That's amazing. That's amazing. They love it. We had backpacks made out of inner tubes, and everyone was going crazy for it. Everyone was going crazy. So we're trying to bring that back too.
It's such a gorgeous, like, you've got the pouches right now, haven't you, in that fabric, but it's just such a tactile material. It's yeah, it's great.
And it looks like leather as well, you know, like the rubber looks like just like leather. When you ask people in markets, they always like, is that leather? We made we sourced small tires, not small tires, like car tires, so we were able to do small accessories. So we made hand sanitizer holders that we're going to launch next week, but they're made out of inner tubes as well, and everyone thinks it's leather. And I'm like, what is this material? They're like, leather. I was like, no, it's tires.
It must be fun seeing the surprise on people's faces.
Yes. And it's fun as well after you make it and you know it worked. You're like, yes. Yeah. You know, so the journey of upcycling is fun because for us, at least as designers, because we're like, okay, we turn this trash, you know, into this. Oh my God, that's incredible. So every time when I pack up the things to send to Charlotte, I always look at them and I'm like, and I always get emotional because I'm like, I can't believe we made this. Like we made it happen. Wow. We saved this from landfill. You know, this was meant to be burned or, you know, being landfill for years and years to come. So that's the exciting part as well.
Amazing. So do you have your eyes on any other particular materials that you're looking to work with at the moment? You don't have to share. I'm sure you want to share the surprise when it comes and after you test them. But
oh my God, we're so excited. So in October, we're going to launch our new collection.
Okay.
And our new collection will be celebrating our community. It's going to be like, I cannot wait because we're rebranding as well. So it's going to be a whole event about it, but especially the material that we're working with. So we're working with an artisan here in Brazil that collects a certain type of waste. Okay. And makes into the most beautiful sparkling pieces. And we're so excited.
And we're also ready, like from looking at your surroundings and how you're dressed, I'm sure you didn't fall into the lockdown like leggings like I have, but I feel like we'll be very ready for some sparkles come autumn.
Yes, yes. I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Oh, and is this the shoot that you're working on at the moment with the artisans? So
yes, it's something that we cannot wait for. We are on prototyping stages of the materials. We're working with 2 new materials. One is very sparkly. I always forget about the other one because I get so excited about the sparkly one. I bet Sean's gonna be like, Maria, we have two. I was like, sorry. I love the sparkles. I apologize. So we're working with these two materials that we're trying to see if they are going to work together. And then we're going to make the most beautiful photo shoot, just saying thank you and celebrating our community, because we would be nothing without them, without the support.
Thank you so much. I know you're just at the beginning of your day there, so I'll let you go, but just we're honoured, honestly, to have you be part of this.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. I feel so honored, that you invited us to share our story and talk to you about our passions. Thank you so much for, making us feel heard and special. It's it makes me a little bit emotional, I was very excited. Thank you for this opportunity.
I was holding back the tears at the beginning when you just started talking about the journey, because honestly it's just incredible, and I knew it was going to be great speaking with you, but just really hearing about your whole journey is a privilege. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and have a lovely day as well.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye.